Welcome.
Attention, please.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome to the No Comfort Zone podcast. It's time to get out of your comfort zone and live on purpose. Broadcasting to the world from Rockford, Illinois. This is your wake-up call.
Warning.
You are the solutions to all your problems. Stop thinking average. Become the hero version of yourself. Every day, every time, without fail, no exceptions. It all matters. You've entered the No Comfort Zone. It's time for a reality check.
It's those defining moments where you realize that when you did step outside of your comfort zone and you really did try something completely new, when you look back on it, it becomes one of the most memorable times of your life. And this is Dan, the No Comfort Zone guy, and so I just realized something. I realized that I just looked at my stats again. I do that every now and again because I'm really insecure how this is going. But right on, there's like countries now are like getting on board. So thank you very much. I think I'm right around my 80s as far as podcasts go. And it was right. When you keep going at it, more and more people will listen. And now I'm starting to develop a little bit of tribe, as I podcast to and from work, going over, what's going on in my life and stuff like that I talk about and rant about every now and again. So, but what's really cool is that I'm thinking about, what's on my mind lately. And I'm like going through this whole emotional intelligence thing, as I talked about on one of the other podcasts. And I'm also trying to get in the process of getting really fit this time and trying to become spiritually in the moment, which is so hard for me to do. And there's so many people that know me that might laugh when they hear this, but the truth be told is I'm really terrible at it. So I want to get better at it. So by me getting better at it, what I really want to do is I want to find a way that I can become a better version of myself spiritually, mentally, and physically. And the way I did it was through my blueprint, the No Comfort Zone blueprint. And it's a great way, and I'm really glad that I did it. And results were magical, as I've talked about before. But it's really nice to see that I'm actually reaching more people, and I'm getting really good feedback. And I appreciate the information about wanting to know more about me. So thank you so much for reaching out. And if you would like to reach out, you can do it on iTunes. Give me a 5-star review. I'd greatly appreciate it because I desperately need it. I don't think I have any of those yet. And also any feedback you can give me, you can go Dan at thenocomfortzone.com, or just hit me up at thenocomfortzone.com and download the blueprint, and let's start a relationship that way. But what was really cool is somebody asked me about what's the riskiest thing that I've done. And I can go over a lot of rated R version stuff, but this is one that comes close to home because it really defined my making my way or being a pioneer in my own life. And that was when I set a goal. After listening to a bunch of Tony Robbins CDs, I got all jacked up and amped up, and I decided to end the relationship I was in, set up a goal that 90 days from now I would be living in Southern California, and I was in Virginia at the time. And when I made that commitment to go to California, I had planned on doing it solo, but I couldn't get completely outside of my comfort zone, but I was ready to move on in my life. And what I ended up doing was I had met somebody and I asked that person to come along, and they said, instead of why go to California, why not go all the way to Hawaii? And I just was like, okay. So put a plan together, and roughly 94 days later, I was on my way to Hawaii, and I didn't really know anybody aside from the person I was with, and I didn't really have a job set up. I knew somebody I could talk to about a job, and I was going to move out there and meet this person and do it, and that's what I ended up doing. So the story gets crazy as it goes on and all the risks I've taken to get there, but I really was outside of my comfort zone. I was so ready to move on and get away from the relationship I was in, get away from the job I was in. Although I liked doing what I was doing, I just thought, how cool, if I could do this in Hawaii, how cool would that be? So that's what I committed to do, and that's what I did. And next thing you know, I'm driving across country. 2 weeks later, I get to Vegas, and I remember the credit card I was using. The hotel said, yeah, you've been here for a week or so, and we're checking you out because I need to go on and move on in my life. I couldn't stay in Vegas the whole time. And they had told me that, your credit card is, you're overdrawn in your credit card. And I was like, wow, yeah, because I was partying a lot. I was doing a lot of stupid stuff in Vegas, and I was really living way high up. And I was putting it all in the credit card. I had money set aside, and I'll be honest, I had a lot of money set aside. because I saved everything I made over the course of 3 years and did very well in sales. But still, to max out a credit card and to be overdrawn already, and I'm just beginning my journey, and I hadn't even made it to Hawaii yet. Boy, you can kind of tell the personality I had back then. Very, very obsessive, very living way beyond my means, and I partied like a rock star, and I shouldn't have. That's a whole nother story, though. But what I ended up doing when I got to Hawaii, the job that I had, it didn't work out. They were mean, man. The dealership I went to was crazy. I was selling cars. They were crazy mean, and the people that were there were just a-holes trying to keep it rated PG. They were terrible. And I realized that all of the people that were there were definitely in survival mode. There was nobody really thriving. They were all very much in survival mode, very cutthroat. Now, I had money saved up, and the person I was with ended up getting a job and so kind of supporting a little bit, but it took a while for that to happen. What I ended up doing after that was kind of scouring the market to try to find another place to go because I knew I couldn't stay there. I quit there, and now I started to get worried because it's very expensive in Hawaii. This was a long time ago too, but it was very expensive, and I was worried that my safety net of where I was going to go work, the setup, is not working out. I think I was going to actually have to buy another plane ticket because I did buy a one-way plane ticket getting there, and I shipped my car there, didn't have a place to live, was living in a tourist motel, and now I had to get permanent residence, and it was just a battle. It was fun. And I wasn't too worried about things because I had money, but that money was going quick. And there was a timeline. I thought I had, I think I said I had 6 months where I could live off of just not working. And at 24 years old, it's probably not the best thing. But turns out about 60 days into it, I was running out of money super fast. So I had to find a better place of employment. So I ended up driving around the island trying to find a place, and I just couldn't find a place to work at. And I ended up doing something that's completely outside of me back then. I ended up going to this dealership, this Honda dealership, and I filled out the application for employment even after she said, we're not looking for people, and there's a line of people that want to work here. And I was like, okay, cool. And it was Tuesday, and it was normally Tuesday is a slow night, and it was like they were kind of busy. And they were like, yeah, we're not hiring, and if we did hire, you need a lot of experience. There were guys that own car dealerships that were working there. There was guys that ran finance departments. Let me just say this for you all over who's listening. These were the highest level people in the automotive industry on a retail side that you could meet. And they were all they were experienced veterans that were selling cars there, and they enjoyed it. Well, I ended up breaking down. Let me get to that. So I ended up taking my application back. I filled it out, and I brought it back. And I think God stepped in, and I really do, because I put myself out there and made this very uncomfortable for me. I ended up putting this out there, and what I did was I filled out the application. I brought it back to the receptionist, and she said, "You know what? I'll pass it on to a manager when I can pass it on to a manager." And it's a Tuesday night, and I didn't see anybody around, and she put it effortlessly, like zero effort whatsoever, just threw it into the inbox. And I said, excuse me, and I grabbed it, and I said, where do the managers reside? And they're behind that door. Okay, can I have my application back? And she was insulted that I asked that. So she gave me the application back, and what I ended up doing was I ended up taking the application and walking into the door where all the managers were at. They're working deals, they're getting stuff ready, and they looked at me like I lost my mind. Like I was a customer, and like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, guys, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I know you're busy, but my name's Dan. I recently moved here from Virginia from the Hendrick Automotive Group, and I wanted to see if you guys would have an opportunity to interview me when it's convenient for you. The used car manager, and if you're in this business, you'll understand how funny this was, told me, get out of here. He kicked me out. And I'm sorry to bother you guys, I ended up leaving my application on his desk, and I walked out. Well, he grabbed a stack of deals. Like that's basically all the deals that they made for the day. And he had to bring them to the accounting office. And it's probably about 7 or 8 in the evening. And he looks at me like, you're still here? And it was only like 2 minutes. You're still here? And I'm like, yeah, what I'm doing is I'm looking for an opportunity. I really want to talk with you. And I obviously know I just upset you guys, but the bottom line is, I'm from the mainland. And he goes, yeah, guys from the mainland don't do well here. Would you give me a chance? He said, not interested. I reached in my back pocket and pulled out my W-2s from my previous sales experience income and put it on there. And he goes, man, and he grabbed the deals and he walked down and he grabbed the W-2s, and he was Vince Abraham was his name. And Vince said to me, and he goes, I don't know how you got past this door, but the fact is, just come in whatever Monday or whatever, or whatever it was. Yeah, Monday. And we'll interview you. Maybe it was Friday. And we'll interview you. So I ended up taking the time to do that. And I really pissed him off. But he looked at W-2s and he goes, you've got like 4 years of experience. And he goes, that's nothing. And let me tell you who's working here. And he goes, you're probably not going to get hired, but show back up. Well, I showed up when I was supposed to, and I interviewed, and it was a really lame interview. I thought it was going to be a really hard interview. And Michael Stabner, shout out to you. I know you're still running the store, but it was lame because they said, why should I hire you? And I go, because I have good experience. And he was like, so does everybody else. How do you know you can sell cars? Because I did pretty well at it. I made this much money. And he goes, yeah, but guys like you come in here and you don't do very well. I like you. And it was like 2 minutes. And I was like, this guy didn't give me the time of day. And then I met with the GSM, and he said both of his managers actually liked me. They met me for like 5 minutes each. And then they offered me the job. And then I looked at the schedule. I'm like, this can't be right. It was like a 30-hour work week schedule. You're off every third weekend. So I was like, this was cool. And I didn't think it was going to be a good job because I was used to working a lot longer hours. I was used to more abrasiveness. I kind of was under the impression they didn't know what they were doing. That's for Marty Barger was the general sales manager. All these names that are coming back from the past. What was great was I didn't show up when I was supposed to show up for the job. I went to another place, a Volkswagen Mazda dealership on the island of Oahu in Kaneohe, and I thought, I'm going to sell cars here. And I did that for a week. And they were like, you really didn't show up? The guys from the Honda dealership, you're crazy. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I am, because I think I'm going to do better over here at this place. It was more structured. A bunch of a-holes worked there. And I was like starting to see a trend here. And I'm like, after a week, I did very well there. And I listened to their rules and I did extremely well. Even they were impressed with my ability to relate with customers and sell cars and connect. And I have some great experiences just about my week there, about some of the great customers I met and some of the deals. But that's for another podcast, especially if I had a sales podcast, right? I ended up doing very well. But after a week, I decided that I got to get out. So I ended up going back to that Honda dealership, and they were so mad at me. They were like, you blew us off. I can't believe you blew us off. And I go, I made a huge mistake. I went here and this is what I did. And they were like, okay, you did pretty good. We'll bring you back on. And that was truly, in my 28 years of selling, the best dealership I ever worked for. The best people I've ever worked with. The most amount I've ever learned was from those guys in Hawaii. And I learned from some of the greatest guys in the business at that store. And it was just a wonderful experience. And I had some good friendships out of that. What was interesting, though, is my first Friday I started, it was my weekend off. So now I'm trying to make money, and they gave me a weekend off, like right away. But I ended up learning a lot from those guys, and they ended up sending me to training, and I really appreciated that because that's when I got involved in training and where I really started to learn. It's because of that dealership I got a chance to meet Grant Cardone. Went to the first, there was probably like 20 people in the room when he showed up, and he was really good then, and I liked what he had to say, and I could relate to his methods and what he was teaching about. It was really over the top for me, but I could realize that I needed to be assertive like him, and I started to learn and started to take in a lot of Grant Cardone stuff. But it was such a great experience that I had. And had I not got out of my comfort zone to make that trip to go to Hawaii, had I not got out of my comfort zone and grabbed my application back, gone through the office, persisted and put my W-2s on the guys' deal bags, came back the next day and really just got completely out of my comfort zone, I really don't believe that I would have wound up where I wound up in. And it's just a great experience to work in Hawaii and sell cars and learn about myself and all those risks I took. And boy, you know what? I could tell you a whole bunch of other stories about my experience in the 4 years that I lived there. And the only reason why I left is because the person I left there with decided to start a family with that person and ended up moving back to the mainland and started our household, which ended up tragically in a divorce. Completely forgive the person for getting involved in a relationship and all that stuff. Really just one of the worst mistakes and biggest regrets I've had in my life was getting involved in with that person, because I really, truly shouldn't have been in a relationship in the first place. But that's another story too. I got like 20 other stories that I could tell you from all those experiences. But the point being, I got out of my comfort zone, got out of a relationship, moved, ran, whatever you want to call it, to Hawaii, survived there for 4 years and had a great time doing it, met some great people. And truly, as I get older, it's one of the best experiences I had in my life on selling, on relationships, on living in that wonderful place. And also, it's a place that, deep in my heart, I'll always call home because it's where I grew up. And I made a lot of bad mistakes over there when I was there, but I met a lot of great people. So think about that for a moment. If you're bored where you're at in your life, I'm not saying to move to Hawaii, but I'm saying get out of your comfort zone. Really get out of your comfort zone. What wouldn't you normally do? Because that path that you create with intention, you'll figure it out as you go. I had money set aside and I blew through it all. I had 6 months worth of money set up and budgeted all that stuff. 60 days later, I was completely broke and I didn't do the right thing there. And I do regret that. I could have done things a lot better. I could have lived more below my means. I could have settled things differently when I left Virginia. It was a really unique time in my life. But I want to tell you this. Take a moment. Think about if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? And then go for it. Go for a goal. And if you want to work with me in helping you get there, I can do it, not to Hawaii, but wherever you want to go. I can help you get outside your comfort zone. I can point out areas in your life where you need some help to get to the next step of your life, because I've done it multiple times in my life. And the Hawaii story is just one of them. I've done it continually throughout my life. And I could share those experiences with you one-on-one, and I could listen to what you have to say and really coach you and mentor you so that you can get outside your comfort zone and live on purpose. I hope this podcast served you. Hope you liked my story. And I hope I can connect with you on a different level. So really, until we meet again, or until we talk again, until you listen to me again, get outside of your comfort zone and live on purpose.
Say goodbye.
Want more of the No Comfort Zone? You can follow Dan on Instagram and Twitter at NoComfortZone1.
Bye.
Or on the web at thenocomfortzone.com.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the No Comfort Zone podcast.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.